this. I've been doing this thing for a long time. I've been with a couple different IMOs and built, good sized businesses and had some great people that I had the privilege to lead and help grow with and build with. And I've never seen two things. I never saw a company that's set such great culture to go out there and serve people and that lives and embodies the DNA of the values, not just those things that you slap on the wall. People want to see them. They look good, but man, I saw the D in the company. I got also the culture and the concept of people over profit is is a real thing. And I just sat back, was very excited and full of vision of where this is going to go in the next couple of years and how many people are going to be able to change their lives financially and create great success, but also how many people are going to go out there and serve and provide value to people that will be able to go out there and change their life financially. It really builds significance, which tastes a lot better than success. And so you put that, you couple it, Felix, with the industry and where it's at. I mean, back in the day, bro, like I got started at 19. I'm 37 now. I mean, I was driving, you know, 5 hours to go run appointments every single week for a decade. I don't even remember my 20s because I was just on the road. I was selling, I was building, and now it's like the backyard is the country. You can get leads in any state. You can just dial and make sales over the phone. I mean, like it's such a shift over the last several years from an industry standpoint. The instant approval, man. I was sending in paper apps. I hired my first admin was my aunt Michelle, and I hired her because I write like a 3-year-old, like I held back in preschool. So you can't underwrite what you can't read. And so she would rewrite my application, send it in. It'd take 3-4 weeks to get approved. There'd be an amendment. I have to go back out to the client's house. I mean, it was just so different from sales, but also a recruiting standpoint as well. It was like you didn't have the social media like you do now to go out there and just show your success, show the impact the industry is having on your life, show the difference in the growth that you're having for people that are following you. You can say, man, I think I could do it too. And I think that you might be able to help me do it because I see the success you're having. So it was just a very invigorating, energizing event for me. And so, and I'm excited to be on here with you, Felix. Excited to be able to do whatever I can to provide some great value to you guys in the next, 20, 30 minutes. So.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Something that I want us to take away from what Paul is talking about. He used the word significance, right? And I think that is at the end of the day what we all strive for, not only significance in our bank account or significance in closing a sale, but the significance impact we have on our clients in our teams. So something that I want to take away from this is Paul starting at 19 years old and now 37, which by the way, Paul, that makes me not the senior citizen in the office anymore, brother. So I'm glad you brought up your age. As far as you going back to 19, what advice would you give a lot of our, because we have new that are what would you remind them of, and what advice would you give them as they are constantly dialing, constantly on the phones, as to how and what they should focus on as they're also building their careers here?
Yeah, great question. I think a couple things, man. One, you got to realize like being self-employed is unemployed if you don't have a structured schedule. So what I realized early on is that as a new agent, that self-employed meant that I was the employee and I was also the employer. And so it was up to me to strategically plan out what my day should look like, and that I wasn't going to create massive success in one day, but success was created daily. And so if I had the right daily disciplines, right daily habits, right daily activity, that was going to be essential for me to be successful. And one thing I love about this, Felix, I'd say one of the big points is having this coachability, this coachable mindset. Like the success is out there. Success leaves clues. This call is going to provide clues. You get on calls every day. You get into an office. You plug into a place where there's a lock-in. You see people booking appointments and making sales in Discord. Like the success is there. I mean, there's no lack of awareness of what it takes to be successful as a producer and a person that's going to build a business here. Like it's the blueprint's there, the recipe's there. And so I knew that the biggest thing that would mess me up from seeing the success that I believed I could go out there and achieve was having a very structured schedule. So as the employer, I put together my schedule and said, what does it look like for me as the employee to go out there and just execute and find success? And so I would map out my schedule. A big part of that was morning routine, having some time where I could personally grow and develop. And because you're going to be the lid to your business organization from a production standpoint, but also from a team building standpoint. So I knew that I couldn't give what I don't have. So if I wanted to provide value to my clients, value to my team, value to my staff, I had to become more valuable. That there's different versions of myself. There's higher level versions and there's lower level versions. There's abundant minded thinking and there's lack minded thinking. There's victim minded thinking and there's victor minded thinking. So like I wanted to make sure every day that I was doing what I could to make sure I was personally developing. So I think one of the big things as a new agent is like a personal growth plan might be the best plan you could ever have. It's been better than my financial plan. It's been better than any other plan was my personal growth plan. So I think every morning having time where you pray, you write down what you're grateful for. That helps give you an elevated emotion to go out there and find more things to be grateful for. So now when you're slighted to complain or say you was leads or who's that, you're less likely to do that because you started with gratitude. And so every morning, man, and I've done this forever, I wake up with gratitude. I write down 3 things I'm grateful for. I write down my affirmations, and the affirmations are just basically me forecasting.
Is it better now?
Am I coming through?
Okay, cool. All right.
Can you guys hear me?
Team, please go on. Yeah, I can hear you perfectly. We have some closers here close at the same time. Please, team, go muted.
Okay.
Paul, I wanted to ask something because here you mentioned something, and again, I just want to be emphasizing what all the golden nuggets Paul is dropping. He talked about a personal plan, something that happens to many of us, Paul, and please know your thoughts. As you start selling, being successful, and making a lot of money, sometimes we lose sight of shifting our priorities from being a top producer or an agent or building a team of 5, 10 to really understand and knowing our blind spot. Because as John Maxwell says, the law of the lid that Paul just mentioned, we never want to be the lid of our organization. Paul, what feedback would you give to, let's say, your younger version as now you're starting to see some deposits in the bank and not realizing that you may be the lid of your team or your organization? How will you shine light on that, on something that you may not even be aware of?
Yeah, I mean, I think for one, as the employer, every night I would ask myself, would I have promoted that my efforts and activity and attitude today, or would I have fired myself? And so that would always give me a right question. I'd produce a higher level thought to really see if there was a blind spot. So I think for one, reflection is essential as a being a self-employed business owner. So every night, really taking an account and interrogating your reality, looking through and auditing your day, and asking yourself, like, what distracted me? When was I really in the zone? Why was I in the zone? What pulled me away? Why did it pull me away? How can I eliminate that distraction tomorrow? When did I feel like I was really locked in? Like, start asking yourself these questions so you could become aware of blind spots that might take you out. Because a blind spot, the thing is this, like, it just creeps in. So like it might not affect you right away, but over 6-7 months, it might be the very thing that takes you out. So being very aware of your business is essential. And I think also getting around, people that have a higher thought process that can give you some foresight because they've had it. It's now their hindsight. And so if I've already crossed the path, I can kind of give you feedback on where to step and how to step because I've gone across it. I've stepped on landmines. I've blew off a leg. Like I've already kind of experienced these things. So I think getting around good people and finding some people that you can connect with, and you've got to be the person that's investable. And so that goes back to being the person that's really running your business like a business. You're the employer designing your schedule. You're the employee that's executing at a high level. And you start to show signs and fruits of the person that maybe is above you that says, hey, this is a person that I can sow into. And when I sow into them, it's not going to be wasted seed. It's gonna produce fruit because they're gonna take it, put it in action, and they're gonna go out there and work. And so when you start to put yourself in that position, now you also open the door to have additional support and help from people that can give you some feedback highlight some blind spots. And then I think when you put yourself in an elevated environment, whether that's a conference, I mean, I still spend a significant amount of money every year on leadership, courses and things that I go to and conferences I attend, because it helps me become aware of blind spots. It reminds me of things that I used to do that maybe I'm not doing at the level I should be doing. And it gives me insight on how to move to the next level with higher clarity. So, and that'd probably be my answer, man, is like, taking into account reflection, planning, and then getting around people that can also spotlight blind spots as well.
So Paul, now let's say, and team, pick that up right around not only going back and investing into your business when it comes to systems, leads, etc., but investing in the best business that's yourself, right? So we don't know what we don't know, and what get us here won't get us to the next level. So it's super important what Paul is alluding to on being around rooms on people that have done it already, and who better than Paul, who started as a single agent, to growing his agency to over 20 million in revenue a month, to exiting. Paul, and we all know that we have different stages in our business. Talk to me like if I'm now at a stage in my business that I'm doing 500,000, 1 million a month in production, and now it's time for me to go back and build systems around to be able to attract better talent and recruit. How were you making those shifts, Paul, as you were growing in your career as well? And you had no idea on what to build and how to build it, but you knew you had to expand. Like Ed Milet says, extremity expands capacity. How were you doing that to start recruiting the best talent out there? What would you walk us through as far as like legal tips? If I'm in a place that I'm doing 500,000, 1 million a month, and I want to attract better talent, and I know I need to do that not only by recruiting, but by building better systems.
So can you guys hear me? I think I picked up quite a bit of what you're saying, Felix. Am I coming in still?
Yes, you are.
So you're saying like if you're around 500 grand to 1 million, how do you get to the next level above that?
Of course, right? Because you always have a lead, and you mention it. I'm not gonna recruit somebody that they're doing better than me. I'm gonna recruit typically people that need my leadership. But if I want to recruit top talent and they're better than me in some ways, I'm not gonna attract them. So as you were growing and you were not at 1 million a month in your agency, how were you able to scale to over 20 million, attracting the right people? What was that shift in your mindset as far as knowing where you were and knowing what you had to do to get to that?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think for one, going from like 0 to like 300,000, 0 to like 400,000 is probably the hardest level to get past, because it's a lot of addition. And so what I would say, I'd preface it with this, you can recruit where you're at right now. You don't have to wait to get to a certain place to recruit. Felix is right. Like, you recruit not what you want, you recruit who you are. And so that's why it's essential to continue to develop and create a new identity of yourself and see yourself as the next level person that's going to make a great impact, make a great difference, has a heart to serve, provide value, all those things. But as I got started, I mean, I recruited people better than me because I would introduce them to people better than me. And so, when I was just getting moving, I was recruiting people and connecting them with like a Jonah and said, hey, talk to this person. And so my business was able to kind of grow, not necessarily off my own credibility at the time, because maybe they were a higher level person. But that's a beautiful thing about this business. You can connect them with different people in the organization. They're going to help feed and sow into your organization and business as well, because for a lot of you, your business is their business, right? Like, so I mean, I think that's one thing I've always taken advantage of as I was getting going, being young and wanting to build a business. And I also think the best thing you could do getting from 0 to 350,000 a month, because I think it's the hardest breakthrough, is becoming a really good producer and becoming a phenomenal promoter. And so I never was slowing down to try to be the magic for my people, because I wasn't really the one that had all the answers. I was kind of new, figuring it out as well. But I was a hell of a promoter. I mean, I would promote every person getting on the national call. I would promote the 8 a.m. call. I mean, I would be nonstop. I was like Don King, man. I was promoting because I knew that if they could get on and they would hear from a third party, and I edified the third party individual that was going to bring great value because they're at a higher level than I was at, they would then listen to what they were saying. And now maybe the hold back my agent that I just brought on board was lead flow. And they got the call like, man, I need to get more leads. Like, hello, I've been telling you that. But now I've got this system helping build my business. And so once you get to 350, or let's just call it 500, at that point in time, Felix, I believe you started to identify a couple people that are like you. You started to identify a couple people that are really putting their head above the crowd and saying, I'm a leader. I want to go out there and develop people. And by the way, guys, I know where I'm headed, and I've got probably a 10-second like fall off in signal. So if it does, it'll be very temporary. And Felix, you could just add to the stuff that I'm kind of talking about, because what you're talking about is phenomenal as well. I mean, like I could add to what you're talking about just in the context of how you're packaging the questions, man. It shows your thought process, how high of a level you got. But I believe that you've identified leaders now, and so now you go from addition to multiplication. See, most people don't realize if you could just get through your first year, and now you've got backing commission, and now you've got renewals. Like, there's so many things that happen if you just stay persistent and don't give up in the painful seasons. It gets better, it gets easier. And so even building a business, man, there's a lot of frustration I had in these wilderness moments of trying to get to this next level, but just being stagnant and stale and kind of stuck for a long period of time, not really seeing much progress, but moving my feet like I could. But all of a sudden you get from addition, and eventually through time, you find a couple people that will help turn addition into multiplication. And so now if I've got, 5 people that are leaders and they're killing and crushing it, well, now they're out there and they're bringing on, 10 or 12 people. Now I'm just like, man, can you find 12 good people? So now if I've got 12 good people and they're finding 12 good people, that's 160 some people now that are out there finding leaders. And so to go to 1 million from 500, it's really you doing the same thing, getting out of the way from your leadership team, empowering them, giving them authority, edifying them, equipping them, not trying to baby them, because you can't help a person become an adult if you're going to coddle and burp them all their life. And so they start going out there doing the thing. And then all of a sudden, going from 1 million to 2 million to 3 million, it's really just a reflection of your ability to develop leaders that develop leaders. And a lot of that is just a lot of empowering and equipping people and not having to be the magic for those people. And so that would probably be my biggest thing I'd point to when it comes to going from 1 million to 2 to 3, like those next levels, is just developing leaders that develop leaders.
Love it, Paul. And Paul, something that got my attention, I know you mentioned promoting. So I'm doing some strategic pauses after Paul says something, promoting. He said Don King. A lot of you may not know who Don King. That's like the Dana White now for MMA. And what he's saying about promoting is it starts to become more about others than about yourself. So when Paul is talking about this, he's bringing more about empowerment, where a lot of times we've seen or tasted some success and our ego starts coming in and dropping in. It's important to always remain humble and understanding, to Paul's point, how do I leverage other people around me? And now I understand that to get to the next level, I can't do it alone, and it's a matter of collaboration. And Paul, we're at a point in our company where we've grown a lot, and now it's up to us to rally together and continue to develop each other to get to those 20 a month, to those 30 a month. And what would you say that kept you humble during all that time and grounded, right? You mentioned something about when you're in the wilderness, and for some reason that just took me to the Bible, right? When Jesus was in the wilderness, and that's the hardest moments, but those moments are the moments that we're called to being silent, to really try to understand and figure out what our God is trying to tell us. So how you stay humble those moments when you were, to your point, in the wilderness or didn't know where to go, and you stayed with a lot of grit and a lot of attention into what you were building, as many of us in the call may be in those stages. What would you say to those people experiencing those painful times?
Well, I mean, so a couple things. One, I would say that it's just the way you perceive it. And so like I, for one, a lot of times look at it as like, maybe this isn't going to work. Maybe I can't do it. Maybe it's not for me. Maybe all those other people being successful is because of X, Y, Z. And so I try to disqualify myself because it was easier to kind of validate the fact that I wasn't seeing progress. And so the one way you look at it is you kind of drop your expectation to what you're experiencing. And that experience is just a low level emotion of discouragement and doubt, frustration, disappointment. And so some of these big shifts that happened for me was like, instead of me looking at it as a reason why I wouldn't win, I looked at it as like, this is validation and evidence to why I will win and why it's such a beautiful place to create financial freedom. And it's supposed to suck. There's supposed to be wilderness moments. Like if there wasn't, then a lot more people would be making $1 million a year. Like there's got to be a reason why. And the reason why is most people get so mentally weak and give up on themselves in a wilderness moment. I started looking at it as a sign that, dude, this is, if I just keep pushing through with persistency, I'm following the recipe. The recipe is a recipe. It can't fail. Put in the right ingredients, it's going to come back exactly as you're trying to bake it. And so in my mind, it was just evidence, right? To like, and I think that was a big shift, man. Like now it was like when something happened that was like not going my way and I didn't see the breakthrough, I hired a person didn't get going. I thought they were going to get going. Thought this was going to be the one and they didn't get going. I was like, good. I'm glad that happened. What did this teach me? What can I grow from it? Like this is a part of my process. And you think about like King David, man. King David got anointed as king, but it took him 20 years before he became appointed as king. So there was a wilderness moment. There was a lot of time between that level of going from anointed to appointed, but it was necessary. If he would have got appointed king a year after he got anointed, the crown that he was so hoping for would have crushed him. So he had to build the right character. He had to go through some things so that way when it came, it didn't kill him. And I think that's the same thing. I don't know where everybody's, situation is, but in order to go to these higher levels, we've got to let things go. We got to build character. We got to change thought processes, belief systems. So, I mean, I think as you go through that wilderness moment, it's just a perspective that you hold on to and you look at it through the lens of faith that God's going to use this. He's going to work it out. I'm going in the right direction. I've got great people to support and help me. So I just started telling myself a different narrative and set myself up to continue to move because, the reality is I would always say like, patience is just kind of waiting. And I'm not a patient person. But what I realized is like patience is not just waiting. Patience is really like the attitude that you hold on to while you wait. And so if I'm waiting for the next level and I'm going through a wilderness season, so to speak, the question is, what's my attitude as I wait? Because that's going to dictate and determine how quickly I get to the other side. And so, I hold on to an attitude of faith, of gratitude, of appreciation for where I'm at, this attitude of learning and coachability and adaptability, or do I pick up this lower level discouragement and doubt and disappointment and hopefully it'll work out, but it doesn't feel like it's going to work out. And so I think that's probably the ticket going through those moments. It's to not get weary and doing well, to continue to push forward. No, it's supposed to be like that. It's just like the Exodus, to your point. They got out of Egypt. They got out of the bondage, and maybe for a lot of you guys, you look at getting this insurance industry, you've got this hope, man. Like I've gotten out of Egypt, man. I was working for a dead end job, or I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I wanted to be able to have flexibility in my schedule, be able to make as much money as I wanted to make. But hell, I didn't know what vehicle to go into. I didn't know what that was going to look like. All of a sudden, boom! You're here. Like this fell in your lap, and this is 100% hands down the best industry. So you're like, man, I got out of Egypt. Like I'm now walking towards the promised land. You're not maybe there yet, but you're walking towards it. What I realized is this: the Egyptians had to wander 40 years. Because they did get out of Egypt, but they had to get Egypt out of them. And so they had to let go of these lower level slave behaviors and slave identity and bondage. They had to let go of all these different things. They had to let Egypt go. They had to get Egypt out of them before they could actually step into the promised land. And so that's the thing I love about this business is that unlike any other business, it's a business of refinement, of personal growth, of you get to spend time with higher level thought processes of people that are making 7 figures that are going to pour into you. Like that's not a common thing. And so I would just say that's how I would get through the wilderness, is kind of have that perspective and look at it as everything that you have happening to you as a good thing, not a bad thing, and a thing that might be the necessary thing to get you to a place that when you get to the other side, you're actually able to sustain the other side.
Wow, Paul, brother, I know you mentioned have about 30 minutes with you, so we'll be wrapping up. It's truly an honor having you. You know, the team wanted to have you on the call. I know we'll be hearing more from you. I know you're available for us. You're stepping into this great opportunity, and what a blessing to led by somebody that not only has done it, but that has a beautiful family that we can emulate in all aspects of life, not only at a business level, but at a personal level, which I think it's what we are all striving for, just becoming a better human being overall. That my last question for you, brother, and we'll wrap it up here is, what is the future of Pinnacle? What is the future of Prosper looking like as you step in here? You know, I think you've only been here now for less than 30 days. What would you say the future is looking like, and what are you most excited to be working with apart from the people, which you and I, all of us know is the biggest asset that we have?
Yeah, great question, man. You know, I really believe like this business is my ministry, and that doesn't mean like I don't ever want to offend anybody with my faith or anything like that. That's not my heart, not my intention, and I don't even necessarily mean that it's just about faith. But I love being able to sow into people, value people, love on people, equip people, empower people, and so I see that being in the same likeness with Jonah and Joe, like the heart that they've got to serve and provide great value to people. And I'm excited about watching people really level up their life in every area. Where they like, dude, I'm a better dad. I'm a better husband. I'm a better, you know, man of faith. I'm better. I'm better in all these areas of my life because of this industry, of this business. And I've never seen an organization, I mean this, man, like that has such a leadership team that's focused on people, not just the money. I mean, there's some things that I've seen in the last couple weeks that Joe's done where I'm like, dude, that you would never see that done by a CEO of any company in the space because you just don't have to even talk about an equity share coming out and like how you're able to do it. Like the stuff he does just shows that he is who he says he is. Like he is who he portrays to be. That's not a common thing, man. So I really believe that God's got his hand on Pinnacle. I think he's got his hand on this organization. And you know, for me, I'm most excited to be able to use whatever value I can provide to people to sow into them and watch their life change because I learned early on, man, at like the age of I would say 20. At 19, I was a top 10 producer in the company. And so I remember walking across stage and I was like eight in the country and so at the time it was just mainly mortgage life protection, simplified issue term. And I felt great, man. Like it was an accomplishment. I felt good. I saw my life changing. When I started, I didn't know how the heck I was gonna buy diapers. I was telling my wife, like, hey babe, we're gonna have to get those ones you like wash off and put back on because like we ain't got no money. I was like, and also you're gonna have to breastfeed until our daughter's like 7 because that milk's free, you know. And I was kind of kidding, but kind of not, because I was like, well, what am I gonna do? And I saw after that first year how my life started to shift, and I saw the success. But it was the next year when I was 20, and I saw a good buddy of mine, one of my best friends. He walked across stage because he was a top 10 producer, and he was 18 at the time. And dude, I cried, man. Like, and which was weird because I definitely out of my character to do so. Get emotional about like, I'd just not an overly emotional person. You think I would be with 4 daughters, but I remember crying, just thinking like, dude, I didn't do it for him. Like I didn't dial the phones for him. I didn't give him the leads. Like he did it himself. Like he ran the business. But man, I was a conduit for him to find this place. I invited him to this opportunity, and man, over the years, like I really caught on to how success is great, but once you taste significance, success just doesn't taste the same. And so my goal, desire, and I think the leadership team of Pinnacle, in fact, I'm certain of it, is to go out there and help more people change their lives and not just change it financially, but also change their life in every area that matters most, to be a better version, a leveled up version of themselves, and have true impact in throughout this country. And I really believe that Pinnacle's in a position to do some significant things that this insurance industry's never really been a part of or has never really been exposed to. So I guess that would be where my heart is and my vision is where this thing's going, man.
My man, once again, thank you for your time. Crazy how you started with significance, ended with significance, and we got to take advantage of you while you're here. I will say that one of our leaders just texted me and he wants to ask, with what you know now, Paul, how and what will you do to focus on some recruiting tips? Recruiting tips with what you know now that we have the social media, we have, more of that digital presence, anything that you will do if you were in their shoes to improve recruiting.
Yeah, great question. I think for one, you got to be yourself. You got to be authentic. Don't try to be somebody else on social media because you think it's going to work. I think authenticity shines so bright nowadays because it's such an artificial world. Like everybody's full of crap. You know what I mean? Like you look at social media, it's like you don't know what, and people know. Like they're like, you know. So I think if you're authentic, it goes a long, long way. So I say be yourself on social media, but I think if you're not on social media, you're missing the boat. I mean, you're missing it because this is what I would say. It would be like it'd be like having the cure for cancer and not telling anybody about it. Because like I just don't want to tell people about it. I don't want to come across as like, kind of like, haughty or like look at me. I'd be like, dude, what? Like, hell, what are you talking about, man? Like, it's not about you. You've got something that's gonna change somebody's life, bro. It's your responsibility to go out there and let people know about it. And what kind of human being are you if you don't? And so I always treated this business like that. And so as you go out there, like I would say, there's nothing better than this out there. And I would venture to think a lot of you on here would agree with that statement, which is why you're here. I would say, are you letting people know about the good news? Now you might say, Paul, I don't have a bunch of success going on. But it don't have to be your story, bro. Like tell somebody else's story. I mean, I brought a lot of people to Christ, and I tell them my testimony. I tell them about a testimony that closely looks more like theirs if it ain't mine. And so I think sharing good news, sharing leaderboards. If somebody on the team goes out and they write their first 20,000 a month, man, heck, why would you not share it? Why would you not say, hey, congratulations, Brandon, on writing your first 20,000 in a month. What a beautiful business to serve families and go out there and set yourself up to make a lot of money for yours. Nothing better. And you post something like that, right? And maybe it's a person that's 22 years old you post. Well, people that are 22 are going to see that. They're going to say, well, heck, if that guy can do it, why can't I do it? So I would say share the good news, do it in a great way, share your commission statement, share the stuff that's going to help people shape and look and be able to become more aware of what we have going on because they need it. There's more people on their hands and knees praying at night to God for an opportunity like this, and you got it, and you've got the ability to share it. And so I would say that, and I would also couple with consistency. You got to have it in your schedule. If you're working a job, you've got a schedule. If you're working for Chick-fil-A or wherever, they tell you when to come in, they tell you what it looks like, what you got to do. Like there's no confusion. And so you got to incorporate early on social media where you're not being used by it, you're using it. And I think that'd go back to another shift that you got to have. If you want to do something massive here, probably the biggest thing that can steal your ability to do it is if you're just freaking scrolling all day, man. Like you got a dopamine dump, like you're getting, you're looking at all this stuff, like, and then you have no energy and you're kind of like, when you make a sale, you're not even that excited. Like it's a terrible thing if you're just tied up on social media too much. I don't go on social media. You can say, Paul, I just looked at your page, bro. You got all kinds of stuff posted. I use social media. I don't get used by social media. And so much so that I don't even post most of the stuff now. I got somebody that cuts my stuff. They know, I'll give them what I want to have go up. They do it all like I want to use that as a tool to build my business. And so you got to use social media. You got to be consistent with it. You got to be planful with it. You got to have it in your schedule that maybe every morning before you make your first phone call, maybe it's at 7 a.m. You line up your 3 posts for the day. You schedule your 3 posts for the day. It could be a success that happened a week ago. You could post it today. Nobody knows when that success happened. It's irrelevant. What's relevant is you're sharing the good news. And then when you DM people and you start to direct message people that look like you start to look for people that were similar in your background. If you're in pest control, you should DM people in pest control. You start doing that. Now they're going to go to your page and you've actually got a page worth looking at. You got a page that provides value. You got a page where your posts were intentionally designed to encourage people, to inspire people, to educate people. And I think when you do that, you're going to start seeing a lot more recruits come through the social media platform, which is really a great way to build your business nowadays.
Man, again, thank you so much, Paul. Blessing to have you on this call. Safe travels. Just want to say to everybody, it's an honor being able to interview Paul. I would just say that keep in mind that it's our responsibility, right? He just mentioned it. Encourage, inspire, educate, and let's put it ourselves in action. Every time you hear something very special and important, which many times may be repetitive or it may be a different perspective, but what makes a difference is what we do with what we heard and the action we take. So reach out to 10, 15 people and encourage them, inspire them, educate them. It's our responsibility to let them know. It's like Paul mentioned, if we had that cure for the cancer and we wouldn't share with each other, what are we really doing? So that being said, Paul, happy to have you here. Looking forward to working with you together. And team, we're going to keep bringing talented guests that have done it, that still do it. And we're going to continue to pour into you guys. So Paul, again, thank you, brother.
And thank you, bro. Great questions. And man, you interviewed very well, man. I appreciate you. And thank you guys for having me on.
Yes, sir. God bless everybody.
All right, see you guys.
Take care.
God bless.